Craig Breslow. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Doing great. Win last night, and it looks like it's these guys are hanging in, and it's gonna be down to the wire here. 4 games out with 10 left.
Yeah. I mean, I think we can all be realistic that, we've got this improbable but not impossible path ahead of us. And the only thing that we can do is try to win every game, every night. Last night was a nail biter, but big win for us. And, we'll try to tackle the Rays tonight and not get too far ahead of ourselves, but obviously a huge series this weekend.
Craig, Trevor Story was pretty upfront when talking about the fact that the playoff hopes are less likely, but they're still going out there and playing hard. How important is it for you that you have guys in this clubhouse that no matter where they are in the standings are going to go out there and give it their best shot?
Yeah, it's unbelievably important, and I think that's a credit to the players, and it's a credit to Alex and the rest of the staff to keep those guys focused. We've talked all season about the level of resiliency that they've shown, and I think Trevor embodies that nearly perfectly, right? Given that he had this pretty devastating injury a couple weeks into the season, and rehabbed, fought to get back, and then here he is. And then last night, almost single-handedly won that game for us. So I think it's really important. We talk all the time about playing meaningful baseball in September, because it's important for the present. It's also important for the future, as there are a number of players on this team that, we believe are going to be a part of really successful Red Sox teams for the future. And understanding what it's like for these games to matter in September is a really important lesson for all of us to learn.
Wiggy, go ahead. I know you got one.
Right. Craig, the thing I was thinking, I know that you guys are still focused on the season, but like you said, it's a very, very tough hill to climb. So as you're starting to look towards the off season, and I don't want to get into specific players or, free agents, but some of those guys that you might have been looking at through trades that could potentially still be there in the off season, are those, do you continue to kick the tires on players that, might have been looked to be moved during the trade deadline, but are still under contract with other teams and still looking to maybe be a big player in a trade market in the offseason, not just the free agent market?
Yeah, I think we have to be honest about opportunities for us to upgrade. We have to look at every possible opportunity, and I think the opportunities to upgrade or the deficiencies on this team are pretty well documented, right? Like pitching, we need additional starting pitching depth. We need to take a hard look at our bullpen. We obviously have Tyler right now, but he's kind of earned the right to explore free agency, and the right-handed power that plays so well at Fenway is going to be a massive hole that we're going to have to figure out how to fix.
Major League Baseball completed their investigation of Alex Cora over the comments that he made on Saturday. There's no suspension. There's nothing. I just want to ask you. You were a pitcher. Are you comfortable with the comments that Alex Cora made? What happened with regard to Aaron Judge and that whole thing?
Yeah, look, like this is, 2 incredibly competitive franchises. The performance history of Raffy versus Cole is pretty well documented. I think, the thing that I would say is, I think all sides kind of handled this in a way that it didn't bubble up. It didn't become something more than it needed to. I think, the judge's comments were classy and professional, and it is clear, right, how much Alex cares about this team and cares about his players.
Craig, we talked about, or Wiggy asked about trades, about where you are now. My partner here, Chris Scheim, loves golf and is a huge fan of mulligans. So looking back on it, $17 million for Chris Sale to win the Cy Young on another team. Do you regret it?
Yeah, it is a fair question. And, there are 29 other teams that benefit from Chris Sale pitching at the front of their rotation. We certainly would as well. I still believe that this trade, I think can only be fairly judged or evaluated down the road, right? Like, Vaughn is a guy that we are excited to have here, and he's a guy that we will have for a long time. I don't think we saw what he's capable of doing over the course of a season. I think the Vaughn that we've seen over the last month or so in Worcester is far more indicative of the player that he can be and the player that he will be here. But sure, it hurts that, Chris Sale is having such a successful season in another uniform. But I also recognize when you make these trades, that's always a possibility, and his talent was never going to be questioned.
Craig, I always find it interesting at this point of the season when guys are banged up. Obviously, everybody's tired and dealing with something, but Alex Cora had to talk about Kenley Jansen yesterday, had to talk about Tanner Houck. When you guys only have 10 left and you're 4 games out, how do you deal with guys that have a shoulder issue that could turn into something more serious?
Yeah, it's a difficult balance that we have to strike. We are all incredibly competitive, and we realize what is directly in front of us. And so, we have to kind of straddle this line between, what risk we might be taking on with the importance of the games, that we're playing every day. And, it's most important that we look out for our players, but there's no perfect solution to how you do that. And so, we have to trust the players, we have to trust the medical staff, and we have to ultimately do, what we believe gives us the best chance of winning games. And, at this point, just given the mechanics of the IL, anyone who goes on the IL is going to be out for the rest of the season. And, that can be a damning blow if it's someone who just needs a couple of days. So we have to figure out how to navigate that. We don't want to handicap our chances of winning games, but we also don't want to be, too conservative when these games matter, frankly.
I've been hanging on a thread waiting for an answer to this one. Did you make it to Pearl Jam or not?
I knew that was going to be the most pressing question. So on Sunday, I did not go. I was with the team in New York. And then a couple of days ago, I stuck around, heard the sound check, and heard the first couple of songs. But I did duck out to get home for the kids' bedtime. That's something I haven't been able to do enough over the last year, and felt like when I had to prioritize each of those, I opted for the family.
I will say this. Kids are the ultimate excuse because nobody can say anything to you. Like, as soon as you shut everybody down. I mean, that's your favorite band, and you only heard a couple songs of soundtrack? I mean, I don't know. I don't know, Craig. What about Post Malone? Courtney and I were at Post Malone. Did you go to Post Malone last night?
Well, yeah. I didn't, again, Little League game, so got out of here around 5:30 or 6, just in time to watch, the second inning of one of my sons. I've got twins, so second inning pitch of one of my sons and a couple of bats of the other. So it was a sacrifice well worth it.
Yeah, we got a future Major League Baseball player or two over there.
Hopefully a battery.
I have a question just regarding the finances of these concerts. Sam told us in spring training that the Red Sox were a break-even business. Are the concerts a different pot? Like, is that a totally different entity that the organization views? Because they're using Fenway Park. It's a huge windfall. I mean, the amount of money that must generate is incalculable. What is that part of your budget, or is that something that's totally different?
So I'm actually not certain of the economics in terms of, profitability of concerts or anything, and not sure how much sense it makes for me to understand any better outside of, I'm trying to put the best team together that I possibly can. And, when there are opportunities, whether that's, trades or free agencies, I take that to ownership. We discuss whether or not it makes sense and ultimately make a decision.
Craig,
well, I mean, you can go to John Henry and say, listen, you saved some money on Sidney Crosby. I want that money. I want to be able to spend it.
I don't think that would work out all that well. I think one thing that, Sam and others have repeated is that, these are kind of standalone businesses that need to be operating on their own.
All right, Craig. Well, listen, there's still a chance, and we will be paying close attention. I know you will too, and thanks for taking the time this morning.
You've got it. Thanks. Have a good morning.
All right, there he is, Craig Breslow,